Massage therapists of Reddit. Have you ever had a frisky experience while giving a client a massage? Or, what is the creepiest thing to ever happen to you while giving a client a massage? Story 1. In my late 20s, I used to work as a technician in a local spa in my medium-sized town. I specialized in Swedish massage and mostly saw clients who were there for one-off sessions. I did, however, have a few consistent clients whom I saw once or twice a month. One in particular, an incredibly fit man in his early 40s, the spa was in the same building complex as a nice gym, would come to me pretty regularly for a 90-minute session. He was always really nice. We'd chat as he settled in, and then he would get on the table and simply enjoy the massages. I would be lying if I said I didn't enjoy them too. He wasn't an incredibly buff man, but his muscle tone was amazing, and I just really enjoyed touching his body. About the 5th or 6th time he came in, something quite interesting happened. About 60 minutes in, after he had turned over and I had begun working on his front, I noticed a very obvious hard-on beginning to tent up. I tried as hard as I could to ignore it and simply continue on with his massage in as professional a way as I could manage. After about 3 minutes, he seemed to become aware as well. He sat up slowly and removed his towel completely. I took a step back, and as much as I wanted to tell him to please cover up, I was totally in awe of his member. He apologized to me and grasped his penis with his right hand at the base and began to twist. I heard a hissing sound and steam began emitting from the base of his dong as he removed it. He walked over to his jacket and pulled out a small box lined with soft felt and placed his detached dong inside and closed the lid. He walked back over to the table, put his towel back on, and goddamn you guys, all of these stories will be just as real as this one. Story 2. From 19 to 21, I worked at a massage place as the receptionist. People used to come in all the time to ask how much massages were, and usually that was the extent of the conversation. One day a bloke walked in and asked how much the massages were, so I told him. Then he asked in an overly friendly voice if I did the massages. I naively plowed on with, "No, not me, they're done by." When my boss walked out of the consultation room, he'd been in with a client and said, "I do the massages, can I help you?" The guy looked instantly sheepish and couldn't get out the door fast enough. My boss said he'd overheard the guy ask if I did the massages and knew something wasn't right. Told me if that ever happened again to just say I would get the masseur for him and walk out. Story 3. I'm in male escort and erotic masseuse. My prices are very high compared to a regular massage, and no one can mistaken what you're buying. Also, the website I advertise on is full naked buff dudes, so there's really no confusion. Well, one day I receive a call from a man asking if I'm available. He said he would like a massage at his office in the middle of downtown. I didn't think much of this as I've done this kink for a few people before. They normally run a small business and nobody is there at that time at night. Innocent enough. But this guy requested it to be at lunch and gave me the address to a bustling building. When I arrived, it was filled with people in a beautiful open space office. I brought my massage table and people were making light conversation with me thinking I'm a legit masseuse. This was way out of my comfort zone. I'm used to dealing with pervy guys in dim-lit rooms, not talking to Karen and her friends interested in booking a massage. When I finally met the guy, he led me through a maze of people and departments. Everyone was staring as I was dressed like a man-ho while everyone else was in business attire, tank top, gray sweats, and no underwear. Gotta dress the part, you know? He leads me to an open room that had been converted into a massage area, meaning there is no doors, just a paper curtain divider that blocks the view from his coworkers. I started the massage and was thinking, he can't possibly think I would do anything here, right? This is insane. After 30 mins, I started to get a sense that something is off. I would glide my hands to more intimate areas, but he kept talking casually. Most guys would pop a tent or ask to be massaged near their groin or start touching my junk. But he was talking about his wife and daughters. I immediately asked him how he found me. He told me it was a recommendation from one of his friends. Then starting going on about his relationship with this guy and how they have a very strong friendship and that they would constantly prank each other. I froze and my heart dropped. This guy thinks this a legit massage. This was supposed to be a prank that somehow got way to advance without any party knowing. Hence, why I'm in the middle of a tech office and he is so nonchalant about everything. I immediately went real masseuse and focused on his knots for the remainder of the time. He paid me my ridiculous fee and made a small comment about it being expensive for a massage, but it was good and convenient. I was beyond terrified as I was seconds away from doing some highly inappropriate things to this man right in the middle of his office, feet from his coworkers. This is my most eerie experience I've had yet. Story 4. Not a massage therapist, but my dad is. And this is one of his favorite stories. When his clients come in, he gives them a list of Pandora stations to choose from for the session. A client comes in one day and picks 50s jazz. So, like Ella Fitzgerald and stuff. The thing about some of these women from the 50s, some of their songs were not so subtly frisky. One comes on, and it's about a woman asking her lover when he's coming home. But she's singing lines like, "When are you gonna come? Oh, I can't wait for you to come. Come for me, baby. I love it when you come for me." He's in the middle of working on this woman's glutes when the song comes on, and pauses to see if she's awake. She hadn't said anything for a while, so he figures she's just gone to sleep. It's a pain to stop what he's in the middle of working on, walk over to the phone, and wipe all the massage oil off his fingers just to skip the song, so he makes a mental note to remove it from the playlist, and keeps working. A few minutes later, when the song is reaching its climax of a woman begging her lover to come, his massage bottle runs out of oil. Not a problem. He always keeps a spare on his hip because this happens. The thing is, sometimes when a bottle is being filled up, a bubble of air gets caught in the tube inside and comes out with the first pump. He goes to pump the oil into his hand, and a mix of oil and air comes out with a loud spludge sound, like a cartoonish ejaculation noise. He freezes, one hand on the pump and the other on this woman's butt. She doesn't react, so again he thinks she's probably asleep. Then her entire body starts shaking with laughter. They're both laughing so hard they need to take a break from the massage to compose themselves. Thank God she was chill, and found it just as funny as he did. Story 5. I do home visits. I'm male. Had a particular client 3 times. Usually, I have clients strip down to their underwear. The second session he got nude, but I didn't think much of it, as he seemed okay. At the end of the third session, as I was massaging his neck while he's on his back, he just started jerking it. I was kind of shocked in the moment and didn't know what to do. He reached for my hand as if to get me to finish him off, and at that point I stood up and said, "I have to go." Was fairly awkward waiting for him to get dressed so I could pack my table and get my money and leave. I've had a couple of incidents in my 5 years. Female therapists would have it much worse. Sucks that massage is associated with the sensual sexual because I really like helping people overcome aches and mobility issues, but it's hard to advertise without getting calls from guys wanting their dong tugged. Story 6. I have a friend who is a licensed massage therapist and has been studying medicine and been around doctors for much of his life. One of his sessions with a regular female client, while she was face down and he was in front of her, by her head, working on her back, she reached up and grabbed his butt. He asked what she was doing, and she said, "Sorry, I don't know, I couldn't help myself." He told her not to do that again, and the rest of the session continued as normal. At the end of the session, he got her a glass of water, and as he turned around to leave, she grabbed his butt again. Still, she apologized and seemed genuinely upset and embarrassed, insisting that she just couldn't help herself. My friend ponders for a moment before doing a peripheral vision check on her. Her vision is way below what is normal. Massage therapist calls the client's husband and suggests that they go see a doctor because there might be something wrong with her impulse control and vision, suggesting maybe some sort of frontal lobe problem. Sure enough, a few days later she had an MRI and there was a tumor developing in her frontal lobe, glioblastoma, I think. I forget the exact medical language he used. It was removed, and she is doing fine now. Story 7. My parents own a spa I used to work at. I have a crap ton of stories, but here's a goodie. At one point we had 2 male massage therapists. Now, I worked in the call center, and before booking a massage, we would always clarify if the client was comfortable seeing a male massage therapist, as we had a majority female clientele. But one day, this male client books a massage for himself with our male therapist, Ed. He was a new client, and actually requested a male, whatever. Guy goes in for his appointment, and the first half is normal. Dude's naked on the massage table with a blanket covering his lower half. First half of the massage he's on his stomach, then Ed tells him to go ahead and flip over to his back to continue. This dude flips over, hands Ed a wad of cash from who knows where, saying "That's for you," and starts to jerk himself off. Ed promptly said, "All right, your appointment is done, they'll take care of you at the front desk," and books it out of there. Dude pays leaves with no problem. Here's the kicker. Ed never told my parents, a manager, nothing. We only found out through work gossip. But because we didn't know about this creep, the guy ended up calling and scheduling another appointment with Ed. We found out shortly after booking the scoop. and the guy was asked to not come back. The spa's a pretty upscale place in the triple-digit price range, so not sure if the guy just thought we were an expensive spa with a side hustle or a really cheap brothel. Story 8. I had a very eccentric, read creepy as F, client who came into our clinic one day wanting a Tuina massage, type of Chinese massage. We usually leave the room to let the client strip down into underwear before we commence. But with this guy, I had no chance to get away. Before I had time to give him a towel, he dropped his pants to reveal a sparkling blue G-string that barely kept everything in place. The guy was about 58, huge beer gut, gray hair, gold earring, and hairy like Robin Williams. As I started the massage, the guy started to tell me that he worked as an erotic masseuse, specializing in body slide massage. This is where the masseuse gets oiled up and rubs his body and genitals all over before banging the client at the end. The whole time I was massaging him, he kept telling me that I was really good with my hands. He also repeatedly told me how good he was at his job and plugging his business with a hinting tone. A very awkward session. Story 9. I get a call from my friend one night. Her boss wants a massage and she recommended me. Since he is my friend's boss, I don't really worry much and head over to this dude's place with my gear. When I first come in and have everything set up, the dude offers me a Vegas bomb. I pass, and the massage starts as normal. Everything is going normal. The dude was Indian, I think, and was saying how this is great. He would recommend me to all his friends, etc. But about halfway through I hear, "You do happy ending?" My hands just froze. No one had ever asked me that before. My friends make jokes and all, but I'd never before had to deal with a client seriously asking this. The conversation goes like this. Creepy dude. You do happy ending? No. Why not? Because that's disgusting and unprofessional. I pay extra. We're done here. I stopped the massage, packed up my gear, told him to pay the full price, and left. Once I was home, I called up my friend to tell her what a creep her boss was. She started laughing her butt off. Apparently, he had asked her if I did happy endings, and she thought he was joking, and joked back, yes. Story 10. My wife is an RMT, registered massage therapist. A lot of tradespeople go out west to work, be overpaid, but return to visit family or inevitably return. She had one such client who had just gotten back from the oil rigs and assured her that, if she did a real good job, he'd tip her well, in more than one way. She said she'll make sure she does a good job, and to apply deep pressure if that's what he wanted. But he just kept suggesting a real good job, and lots of money. She's not a prudy and she doesn't take crap from anyone. However, wasn't sure if his dong was moving involuntarily or if he was actually wagging it at her. I chimed in and let her know that the dude was definitely wagging, hoping she'd take notice. Obviously, she didn't do anything. Got a mediocre tip and saw the guy maybe once or twice after with similar, if not less subdued interactions. That's probably the worst thing to happen to her. However, a male colleague of hers had been charged with assault and causing physical harm to a couple clients. Stuff does happen, more than one might think. Story 11. Believe me or not, I had a massage with a girl once and she was new. Before I flipped over from my stomach, she whispers, "Anything else I can do or focus on before you turn over?" Based on the place being one of the most popular massage places nationwide, I figured she meant in a non-horny was. I said no. I turn over and she massages my legs no problem, but when she does my arms, she rests my hands on her breasts slightly, and I had to think about my grandma so hard to keep from getting in trouble. We finished the massage and I left. I rescheduled and got her again a few weeks later, and she had changed up her style to rest my arm on her rolling chair for that. So someone must have mentioned something. Story 12. I was told about a friend of mine's experience with a masseur. She's really into witchy stuff, and swears by the idea of manifesting outcomes by putting the idea out into the world and truly devoting yourself to it. She just doesn't really seem to understand that as long as her desires can somehow be obtained by exploiting the sexual whims of various men, she will have no issues making things happen in life. Poor girl is 29, and she just found out that, as a reasonably attractive, hypersexual woman, there are countless men who will pay for her to do things for no reason other than the fact that they want to sleep with her. All that is to say that one day, after having recently become single, she got the idea in her head that she wanted to get a massage with a happy ending. Her mind set, she began her process of manifesting the outcome of banging with a guy who has just spent a substantial amount of time rubbing down her naked body. She succeeded, as the next time she went out to get a massage, the therapist rawed her on the table and decided it was probably a bad idea to accept payment for the full body internal and external massage he just administered. My native friend went on to assume that this only worked because she manifested it into existence, and it had nothing to do with a frisky man having spent 40 minutes rubbing down a thick yoga booty while she did her best to express how turned on she was getting. Story 13. I don't do massages, but I used to do body wraps for detox and inch loss. A regular customer came in for a half body wrap before going on a cruise. I knew her, knew she did them completely nude, and she was very nice. Her husband called me that evening and said her vaginal lips were no longer symmetrical, and I had to redo the wrap and make them match. Obviously, I have zero control over how the body will react to the wrap, but knowing she was a good client, I'd be more than happy to try. I figure wrapping that area a little tighter might help, so I did. After the wrap, he came into the room and told me to stay in case I needed to do anything. He got down on his knees and she spread her legs. He started inspecting her. I stayed a few minutes, not wanting to leave since he had told me to stay, but when the inspection turned a little frisky, and they clearly just wanted an audience, I got the hell out of Dodge. He said I would have gotten a fat tip if I stayed, and I said yeah. I bet it would have been more than the tip and told them never to return. Story 14. My wife and I were at a small resort in Costa Rica. When we go on vacations, she always gets massages, but I never do. This time, we decided to get a couples massage. We get in the room, and the two are waiting for us each by a table. She had this Latin love god, and I a cute girl in her early 30s. They tell us to take off our clothes and gave us these little paper undies, then left the room. The room was nice. It had a little fountain with some foliage and some soothing sounds from speakers. We each looked at the paper, undies laughed and decided to forego them. It just seemed too silly. They started the massage, and it felt good. She would stretch my arm, then start working it first, going over it lightly, then gradually getting harder. The time came to do my butt. She moved the towel down and started working my cheeks. Then the inside of my cheeks, which I thought was odd. But I'm new to this massage world, and maybe that's what a deep tissue was. At this time, I'm starting to feel, not relaxed, but insecure. I suddenly become aware of my wife next to me, who sounds more than relaxed. Meanwhile, back at my butt, she was really doing the inside of the cheeks well. I had hoped this was the last spot she would do. The last thing I want is butt cheek sweat rubbed all over my body. Then started to press down on my actual butthole. I felt pressure building up behind her thumb. I clench and I clench like I never have before. I spin around and say very politely, "Thank you for the massage." My wife. Our time isn't up yet. I told her we have to go now. I told my wife what happened and she laughed at me and said, "Only to you." And now this is her favorite story to tell. Story 15. When I was in school, I had placed an ad for in-home services as a means of getting me more practice and also to make some extra cash on the side. I did this while working 40 hours a week and going to school 10 hours a day on my days off. It was a pretty exhausting few months. Because I went to people's homes, I had some pretty specific steps about how I screened clients, being very clear about what services I was giving. It's a relaxation massage booked by the hour. I bring my table. You are fully draped during this. Most people that were looking for some kind of frisky service were pretty upfront and rarely pushy. But I ended up with some good clients that were just busy or traveled into town regularly and didn't have the time to visit a spa. One Friday, I was home in the evening and laying down for a nap when my phone rang with someone looking to book an appointment. I gave them the spiel about what I offered and prices, and he asked if he could get the massage without the blanket. Some people ask this, so I always like to bring up how cold someone tends to get during a massage. The draping is for privacy. If you get overheated, I can drape just your waist, etc. Most people usually got the point or were understanding. He was mildly fussy about the sheet, so I offered draping his waist with a towel. He responded saying this was fine because I could. The phone started breaking up. I checked to see if he was still there. He was. We just hit a bad reception patch. No big deal. I confirmed the time and place and set the appointment for around 8 p.m. when I arrived at the client's townhouse. As I walk up, I hear loud music playing. All I am thinking of is that I hope he can hear me as I knock on the door, which opened to blast my ears with smooth R&B and revealed an old white man wearing a sleeveless coral shirt with ruffles. It looked like something an older woman would pick up from Walmart to be dress casual. I think nothing of it. Who am I to judge what weird clothes this guy wants to wear? And walk in also noticing he's already not wearing pants. Okay, whatever. He's Donald Ducking around his apartment getting ready for a massage, but he's clearly wearing some kind of underwear, so I don't acknowledge it. I set up my table, focusing on my work rather than his odd attire, and make polite conversation. As I'm ready to go, I say that I need to change the music so I can focus, and he can relax, and that I'll wash my hands. While I do that, he can climb onto the table and get under the towel on his back. This is when I turn to change the CD in his player, and I can see out of the corner of my eye as he took off the top that what he is wearing underneath are the frilliest pair of lacy panties. This is not the most normal of situations, but I think that I have two options. 1. This guy is a weirdo pervert and wants to get a reaction out of me for wearing something shocking. 2. This guy is into wearing ladies' clothing, and this is how he gets to be in private. No matter what the actual answer, my best course of action is to not acknowledge his attire and go about the session. I worked through, did my routine as normal while he was on his back and focused on my work. For the most part, it was a pretty standard massage, though I did have to fight the compulsion to flip the tag of his panties back inside his underwear lest I call attention to them. But when I did his feet, he kept splaying his legs out, which, when I wasn't thinking, gave me a glance at his balls hanging out from that lace. His legs were pushed back together, and I kept my eyes on the floor after that. At the end of the session, I cleaned up quickly, thanked him, collected my money, and left. At the end of it, he paid me 3 times my rate, which was nice. It was still an awkward session,